Headlines love to scream about price cuts, but the real story in today's market isn't just about price reductions, it's about homes being pulled off the market completely. Nationally, delistings are up 57% year over year. And right here in San Diego, about 1 in 4 homes listed in July was pulled off without selling. But does that mean sellers are panicking, or is something else going on? I'll go over the details so whether you're a seller or buyer, you'll know how to navigate the San Diego market and this delisting dilemma that we're going through. After that, San Diego has some of the highest rents in the nation, but here's the twist. They've barely gone up in the last 2 years. That's almost unheard of in a city where rent spikes used to feel like an annual tradition. Zillow and CoStar's latest data show we've hit an affordability ceiling. And when you dig into why, it says a lot about where both the rental and the housing markets are stuck right now. Stick around, this may give you some insights to whether or not you should buy or hold out as a renter. Both these topics covered here in this week's San Diego Market Matters, and I'm Karl Kyler, your San Diego Realtor. Now real quick, if you're thinking of selling or buying here in San Diego, I have my contact info in the description below. Feel free to reach out if you want to talk about your options and how I can help you with your next move. Now, let's get into this. Delistings have become one of the defining features of this summer's housing market. Nationally, for every 100 listings, about 24 homes are being yanked off the market without a sale. That's up from 17 a year ago. And in San Diego, we've jumped from 15 per 100 in May to 26 per 100 in July. So about a quarter of sellers are pulling their homes off the market right now. Now, at first glance, that sounds like sellers are waving the white flag. But let's be clear here, delisting is not panic. In fact, it's more of a luxury move. Today's sellers are sitting on record levels of home equity, and many of them have mortgage rates that are under 4%. That makes them very different from the underwater sellers of 2008 who had to dump their homes because they had no other options. These sellers can simply say,
I don't get my number, I'll just wait.
And keep in mind, delisting stats only capture the homes that make it to the market. They don't include the conversations that happen before the signs ever go up. I can tell you from experience, plenty of homeowners call an agent thinking that their home is worth X, only to hear that in reality, that market won't support that number. A lot of those people just decide not to list at all. So the true amount of shadow delistings is even higher than what shows up in the actual data. Now let me give you 2 quick examples from East County, San Diego. In Alpine, this home on Verde View Road sat on the market for over 30 days at $939,000 before the seller just pulled it off. In Santee, another home on Trail Ridge Avenue priced at $1,350,000 was canceled after a similar amount of time and hasn't come back to the market. Both are nice homes and both had reasonable market exposure, but the sellers weren't willing to adjust their price to meet the buyers where they are. So rather than sell for less, they just walked away. And this isn't happening only in East County, it's all over San Diego. And this brings us to the bigger problem. Inventory. In August, San Diego had just over 6,000 homes for sale, up 15% year over year. But new listings were actually down 13%. When listings rise on top of that, it means that the growth in available inventory could stall or even shrink. For buyers, that keeps choices limited. For sellers, it means less competition in the long run, which actually props prices up. And that's not even considering that we're at record low mortgage rates for 2025 right now. And one more layer to this, most sellers are also buyers. Zillow reports that about 70% of sellers turn right around and purchase another home, with more than half upgrading to something more expensive. If they can't get the sales price they want, many simply hold off altogether because trading a 3% mortgage for a 6.5% just doesn't make sense. That's like swapping your brand new iPhone 17 Pro for the 13 base model. So here's the takeaway. Don't confuse delistings with desperation. This isn't a wave of distressed sellers. It's frustrated homeowners who'd rather hit pause than sell below their expectations. The result? Inventory gets artificially capped and affordability doesn't improve. In other words, this isn't pointing towards a crash. It points towards a market that just stays tight, stubborn, and stuck until either rates drop, which they kind of just did, or seller expectations shift. And if you're a buyer hoping these delistings mean sellers are getting desperate, sorry, this is more like sellers taking the ball and saying,
Screw you, I don't want to play with you anymore.
Now let's take a shift in perspective from seller psychology to that of the non-homeowner, or rather the renter and the rental market. Let's start with Zillow's numbers. As of September, the average rent for a 3-bedroom detached house in San Diego is about $4,400. That's down $100 from last month, but still up $100 year over year. On the attached side, condos and apartments, the average rent is $3,826. Basically flat month over month, but up $201 compared to last year. Now, if you zoom out to a wider data set provided by CoStar, a real estate tracker, which pulls from nearly 300,000 rental units countywide, the trend looks even flatter. Average asking rent across San Diego County is $2,532, just 1% higher than 2 years ago. That's record high rent, but almost no growth. For context, in 2021, rents jumped 11.5% in a single year, the biggest spike in 25 years. So here's the economic conundrum. Buying is harder than ever. Interest rates are high, home prices are still up, and lending standards aren't loosening. Normally, that forces more people into the rental pool and pushes rents up. But here in San Diego, the data shows the opposite. Rents are actually holding steady. And so how can this be, you ask? A big part of the story is supply. San Diego has roughly 12,000 apartments under construction right now and about 4,000 new units opening this year alone. That's one of the biggest waves in county history. More competition between landlords means more incentive to keep rents steady. Downtown especially is feeling it. Vacancy rates there are nearly 10% compared to the countywide average of just 5%. Then there's also renter behavior. To cope with high costs, more tenants are doubling up with roommates, or young professionals are moving to cheaper metro areas altogether. That shift in demand means landlords can't keep slapping on a 10% hike anymore. As one local property manager told the Union Tribune, you have to avoid vacancy at all costs. So here's the takeaway. San Diego rents are still brutally high, but they've hit a ceiling. And it's not because housing suddenly got affordable. It's because renters simply can't pay anymore and landlords know it. And that ceiling matters for the bigger housing picture. As I mentioned, market economics suggests that when buying gets harder, rents go up as would-be buyers shift into renting. But right now, buying is tough, and at the same time, renting has kind of stalled, meaning both markets are maxed out on affordability. Bottom line, Zillow's microdata and CoStar's broader sample agree. San Diego rents are tapped out. Prices are steady, they're not falling, but the days of runaway rent hikes are behind us, at least for now. And with thousands of new units still coming online, landlords have to fight harder to keep tenants, even in one of the nation's most expensive rental markets. If you're a renter, this may be an opportunity for you to keep your overhead low by staying put and putting your extra money to work somewhere else. If you're a landlord, take heed. Now is not the time to push rents higher, especially with 4,000 new construction units hitting the market this year. That doesn't mean that the rental market is going to crash. Demand is still obviously still strong with only about a 5% vacancy rate across the county. What it does mean is that both the market and your tenants could use a little breathing room. And that's a wrap. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll post some videos in both of these corners for you to watch next if you want to learn more about the San Diego market. As always, I'm Karl Kyler, your San Diego Realtor. I'll see you in the next video.